Alright guys, so this video is going to show you how to find the circumference and area of a circle. So just as a reminder, circumference is the distance around the circle, okay? So that is like saying, if I took a little thing right here and that'd be the distance around the outer edge. Okay, so that is circumference. An area is the part that's on the inside, and we know that. So the two formulas that I have for that is circumference equals 2 pi r and area equals pi r squared. I would highly suggest that you write this down or screenshot maybe this, but probably closer to the end of this video so you can make sure that you have an example of really how to do this with all the notes written out. So before we get into this, let me just go over this real quick because it might do this to you, it might not, but I want you to make sure you guys know the difference between radius and diameter. So radius is half the length of the circle. Now what I mean by half, I don't mean like, oh, this half of the circle. No, that's not what I mean. Half the length. So I start from the middle and I go over. So that is the radius. So from the middle part right here to the other end. So what it shows you right here, the 7 yards, that is the radius of this particular circle. Now, the diameter is a little different. The diameter is from one end of the circle to the other, but it's through the middle. So if you say one end to the circle to the other, that is not diameter. This is, okay? So, just a refresher, hopefully you guys remember that. If you need a little bit more explanation on that, just get back to me, and I will get to that for you. Okay, so it says find the circumference and area of the circle with the radius 7. Use 3.14 for pi and do not round your answers. Be sure to include the correct units in your answers. I'm going to highlight this because I know someone's going to have a question about that. So, circumference, again, is 2 pi r. So what we're going to do is that I'm just going to really quickly talk about this and what this means. So I'm going to write a little PEMDAS up here because this comes in handy for so many things. So when you look at this, you have 2 next to pi next to r. When those things are right next to each other, you are multiplying, okay? So you're multiplying 2 times 3.14 times your radius, which is 7, which is shown right here. Okay, so it should give you a calculator for this, so I'm just going to put it in mine. So it's 2 times 3.14 times 7, which is 43.96. Now, remember it says do not round your answers, okay? So that's there. I'm going to not put my units there for a second, but I'll just leave a little box. So for my area, it says pi r squared, okay? And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to put my my numbers into that formula. So pi is 3.14, and then it's right next to the r, so that means multiply, times the radius. So the radius is 7, and that 7 is going to be squared. So whatever number you have for the radius right there, that is going to be squared, okay? So this is where we need to talk about PEMDAS real quick and why it is important to know your order of operations when you do this. Some people, they just decide to go left or right because they're like, oh, it's just multiplying. Not quite. So remember, PEMDAS tells you to do your exponents before you multiply. So you need to do your exponents before you multiply. So with that, you're going to say 7 squared, which is 49, times 3.14. Okay, so I'm going to put that in my calculator, my magical calculator that you can't see. And it's 49 times 3.14, which is 153.86. Okay, now I'm going to put my little line here for my unit. Now, I'm going to go back real quick and highlight my yards, because it tells me what my unit is. So this is cool. These are both going to be yard something, right? Now, if I remind you, circumference is the distance, right? So if I had a circular rub that went from one side to the other, and I wanted to see how long the outside of that would be, I would just put that as yards, right? It's not squared, it's not cubed, it's nothing, it's just a distance. So with that, this is just yards. So circumference is just the unit of measurement that you have. Now, with area, area talks about the whole space in here, right? And technically, well, there's a whole example and reasoning behind why it's wide squared, yard squared. But what you're going to do is you are going to make sure that this is squared, okay? So for this answer, make sure that you have 153.86 yards squared. So area is always squared, and circumference is just your unit. It's no little numbers, as you guys like to call them. All right, so let me know if you guys need any more help.